The Spear Mesmer added a new playstyle for power mirages in kind of PvE DPS situations. However, despite the ambushes being kind of good and the sharp edges buff also being good, the Infinite Horizon doesn't give enough value to really make up for the really lack of any other traits or minor traits that facilitate a power build. And so really what you want to be playing is a Virtuoso DPS build, which has the added 15% crit chance, so you don't need to take Assassin's Gear for the most part. The Spear is going to allow you a lot more burst damage in the build. Before you would use Greatsword, which had great burst as well, but you needed to use within 600 range of the target your abilities, so you didn't really get much value from the range of the Greatsword anyways. So it kind of fits into a Spear playstyle a little bit better. Also, you get Blade Turn Requiem, so Virtuoso is a little bit of a weird specialization because it wants you to be melee, but it also gives you a lot of range. So Spear just kind of works out well for it. But we're going to show the build here real quick for the Power Virtuoso. I've got full Berserker Scholar Runes, Spear with Force and Accuracy, and a Dagger Sword with Force and Accuracy. Now I've got all Berserker here except for one ring, which is Assassins. When I have Fury, you can see I've got 99.95% crit chance. You can put in a Precision. I've got one Precision Infusion there. So if you put in like a second Precision Infusion, you should get to 100%, but it really doesn't matter. And then I've got the Relic of the Thief, which is just going to give you 5% extra damage pretty much at all times. And that is the gear. Now for the traits, you just take the normal DPS traits. We don't have a Greatsword, so no need for Bountiful Blades. This doesn't really matter though. And just all the damage modifiers that you can get. Remember that we have a damage modifier from using the Sword 5, so that's going to be something we want to use before our burst. And note that we also have a modifier when we use our F1, so we want to use our Sword 5 and our F1 or any of the F abilities before we do our burst combo. And then we've got Phantasmal Blades. This is an interesting trait because whenever you use a Phantasm, it will do an extra blade attack, which does a lot of damage. And this is really important to use on the Spear 4 skill because we get 2 Phantasms from that when it is empowered by the 2 skill landing. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, the extra crit chance here is just so good from having Fury and Virtuoso. And Infinite Forge has been buffed quite recently. So all you need to do is use your blades whenever you have 5 of them or more. I don't know why it says or more, but yeah, you need to use it when you're maxed on blades because then you'll get 2 back, and that allows you to spam your blades quite often. So basically we want to do a burst. Always you're going to do a burst on power builds. So we want to get our modifiers with Sword 5 and F1, and then we're going to immediately swap to Spear, but we can use our Dagger 2 and 3 because those are pretty fast anyways. Then we swap to Spear. And the highest damage skill, as you can see, was like Mine the Gap. We haven't used that yet. But Mine the Gap does a lot of damage, and it does even more damage. See that? 3,000 base damage, and it does even more damage when you hit with the edge. So basically, you just want to keep spamming your 2 skill whenever it's off cooldown. But the 5 skill will also recharge your 2 skill. And there's an Empower effect, but the Empower effect on the 5 skill only creates a stun. It doesn't do more damage. However, the Empower effect on the 4 skill gives a second Phantasm, which also gives a second Phantasmal Blade. So what we want to do is use the 2 and then the 4 and then 5. So 2, 4, 5, then the 2. And then we immediately want to heal and then use the 4 again. So the Spear combo is 2, 4, 5, 2, heal, 4. And then we're going to fill in the gaps between the cooldown of our 2 skill with the utility skills. I've got Rain of Swords here, which is the highest damage utility. That's your highest priority. Then I've got Phantasmal Disenchanter. It does pretty good damage, and it removes boons in the case when you really need that. And then I've got Sword of Decimation, which you can replace with the Mantra of Pain, but the Mantra of Pain has like this thing where it requires you to not use the last charge, and so you have to pay attention to a number of how many charges you have, and when you're in an actual fight, you're not really paying attention to that, and so you're often going to just use that last charge accidentally, or it's just going to take up too much of your mental energy to not use it. And so Sword of Decimation is just a lot easier to use because you can just use it whenever it's off cooldown, whenever you have time to, and you don't have to really think about not using that last charge of Mantra. It's just a lot easier, and it's pretty much similar DPS anyways. So yeah, you're just going to use these in between your spear or weapon cooldowns, and then we're going to, while we're waiting for our burst combo, we're going to swap to our dagger sword set and just use the 2 and 3. And then when we enter, we're going to use the sword 5, obviously. But when we are about to leave dagger sword, we also want to use sword 5. And that will give us the most uptime on that buff. So other than that, we're just going to use our F1 as the priority to get our damage modifier that does the most damage. F2 next if you've just got the blades. And then F5 does a pretty good amount of damage as well. So we can use those if we have blades, and we will have enough blades to use our F1 off cooldown for the burst. So let's just check out what this would look like in a kind of rotation that I would use it in. So let's get some boons. Now we're going to start out obviously using the 5. 1000 cuts has no animation, so just use that whenever you're doing your burst. So 5 F1, 3 2, we're going to swap the spear, 2 4 5, and then 2. We want to use the 2 whenever it's off cooldown, so even though we want to heal first before we use the 4 again, we want to get the 2 skill on cooldown and using the heal skill while that's getting value of that cooldown. So the priority is to use the 2 always before the heal, but we do want to use the 2 before using the 4, right? We don't want to use the 2 before the 5 because then it empowers the stun. So if I were going to do a rotation, it would kind of look like this. 3 2, swap, 2 4 5, 2, heal. We can use our F2 as well because we have enough of that. And then while we're waiting for the 2, we'll use our utilities. Use the utilities again, F1, and then we can swap to our dagger. We've got enough blades here, so we're going to use F5. Use a 2 off cooldown. That's a pretty high damaging ability. F1, and now we're going to swap into our spear here. So we're going to F2 to get the modifier, and then 2 4 5, 2 heal skill, 4 F1. Use our abilities. Our 2's up, so we're going to use that before our utility there. Swap F4 or F5, and you can kind of just see how the rotation just kind of flows. If you know the priority, then you don't really have to think too much. And we're going to do our burst here again, so let's get the damage modifiers. Do the spear burst, 2 4 5, 2 heal skill. Let's do F1 before the 4 because we're not going to use that again this rotation. 2 again, let's F5, heal. I'm going to use my 2 one last time. I'm not using it at, so you want to hit the edge right there. I didn't use that, the edge. Sometimes you just got to back up, but now we want to use our F1, and we're going to do the sword into the spear burst. 2 4 5, 2 heal, 4. Let's do the F5 into our utilities. 2 is up. And yeah, I'm not getting too much value off of the hitting the edge here, but you can check out Muckluck if you want the edge, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much it. That's how the build works. You can see the priority is doing that burst combo whenever possible, and then just filling in the gaps with utility skills and your blade songs whenever possible, and of course mind the gap is highest priority. So you can see here the damage. Phantasmal Blade does the most damage because it comes from the phantasms, so there's multiple sources of it. Then we've got Blade Call, which is actually the dagger 2, so believe it or not, this does a lot of damage because it hits so many times. Then we've got Flying Cutter, that's our dagger auto. Then it's Spear 2. That might be because I just was talking for a while and I was just sitting there on the dagger while I was talking, but yeah, Mind the Gap is usually like higher than these two. And then we've got Blades Hung Harmony, or F1. So you can see like the priority here is use Phantasms and get, like, obviously the damage modifier from using the Sword 5 and your Blade Call is going to make everything else higher damage. So those are higher priority too. But you can see where the damage comes from, right? The 2 skills on both weapons and the Phantasms.